Hello everyone, I'm Mark Suxford and I want to welcome you all to my new podcast called People Behind Brands, brought to you by Making Websites Better. Throughout the series, I'll be opening up my little black book of contacts where I'll be joined by an inspirational guest from the world of business, getting to the bottom of what made them so successful. In each episode, I'll be touching upon the highs and the lows that every professional has faced along the way. To never miss an episode, subscribe to our exclusive content now and follow us on our social media platforms. People Behind Brands. Life lessons from the world of business. They used to say if Paul Taylor fell into a viper's pit, he'd come up wearing snakeskin shoes. This is a man who knows how to turn a profit and make success come easy. In this episode, we touch upon what makes him tick, as well as delving into his undoubted knowledge and success. If you have an interest in property investment and business in general, this one's for you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Paul Taylor.
Welcome along to the podcast. It's great to get you on and talk to us about your life and career to date. A property investor, entrepreneur and successful businessman, Paul's rise to the top has been one that has taken hard work and dedication. As a result, his business empire Yield Group has gone from strength to strength, which has led to Paul investing in other businesses, including Making Websites Better, the sponsor of this podcast. So Paul, take us back to the beginning. I'm told that you were working in London as a commodity broker in your early career. Take us back to that time in your life with the stresses and strains and obviously working in the big city.
Yeah, so it was an interesting start, and thanks for having me, by the way.
No worries.
One thing I'll say is it was tough at the start. You got paid very little money to come in. You sort of had to earn your way up in the commodity world. And I started just before I was 18, working on desks, literally getting everyone's tea and coffees, running around errands around London. I think one time I got sent across London to shut someone's front door because they couldn't. They forgot to actually close it. So it was literally like menial tasks like that, but you had to earn your way up in those days, especially. And it was quite a quick learning curve in both life experience at the time, because obviously I was young. It was my first real job, and just generally in the markets, learning about the way buyers and sellers interact with each other, the way the markets move, the indications of how to anticipate moves in the market, et cetera. And it was a real steep learning curve. And I was there for just under 20 years by the time I left. And it was an interesting time. And I definitely wouldn't change any of that. Maybe I would have changed the fact I would have got out a few years earlier. But other than that, it was a phenomenal life experience. So the transition was quite difficult, and as many people will appreciate, it's quite fearful and quite scary to actually just leave your job on day one. So I set myself a goal when my son was born in 2012. I quickly realised I just wouldn't see him working the hours I was working in the city. So that 5-year goal was instrumental for me, and I tried to set it for a couple of vehicles. The main vehicle to replace my income was property. And then secondary was a bit of investing and setting up other businesses. So started along the journey. And the key for me at that stage was education in myself, because a lot of people can go out and try to invest into other fields, and you can lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. So for me, I set out, I spent a lot of money on education, self-improvement, and enrolled into one of the big property mastermind programs, which really sort of gave me the confidence to push that final step in 2017 when I finally left work after the 4.5 years after setting that goal. So it was a tough transition, because obviously every bit of spare time I had around work, I was like looking for property. I was driving around the country, taking a lot of calls at work, which was a bit on the naughty side. But the good thing about the way the markets work, there was a lot of lulls in the market, so you did have opportunity to sort of focus on other things around the markets, as long as you were sharp when the opportunities came within the market on the day job.
Yeah. So your business empire is something to be admired now. What has been the drive to obviously be your own boss, and what experience have you had in your life that has given you the drive to obviously succeed on quite a huge scale now?
So yeah, as I said, the why is spending time with my son and my family, and the sort of driver is I just have this weird, like, everyone says, what's your hobby? Mine is doing deals and business, and it sounds quite sad that is my main hobby, but it's the truth. I absolutely thrive on negotiating. I love doing a deal, and that's what really drives me. Is just every day I get up with excitement, because there's no day that's the same. But like, I think a lot of people relate with the monotony of having one singular job. And when you're running your own businesses, there's problems every day. Don't get me wrong. Like, what they say, what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone who just deals with problems every day, and it's about how you deal with that and how your morale can stay at a high level, even though you're getting kicked in the nuts 7 times a day. It's one of those, but I think the driving force is the hunger just to grow, and there is a flip side to that, and a downside to that is I have the tendency never to be content. I speak to a lot of other people that have run multiple businesses, and that is quite a common trait, and it can be quite detrimental to, especially relationships and stuff like that, because you're always striving to push things on, and some people might be content as they are and happy, and but I wouldn't say I'm unhappy, but I'm never content, which can be frustrating.
Yeah. So everyone likes to make a profit and, simply earn a living to afford the finer things in life. This is obviously something you can afford to do. So I think many people would be interested to, find out a little bit more about those kind of struggles that you've had and everything else. So in terms of, part of your success is investing in other businesses. So what presents that bigger buzz for you? What is it about the personal investments? Is it making money, or is it more about investing in people and where you've supported other entrepreneurs to reach their potential? What's your buzz?
The deal is always the buzz for me. Like, just we'll talk about I think we'll talk about the challenge I did in 2019 a bit later on, but it just that enabled us to sort of get back to basics and just do a lot of negotiations, a lot of deals. But I also I'm quite limited on time, but I try to do a bit of coaching as well, where working with a few entrepreneurs, a few property investors, and they obviously pay for the time that I give to them, but there is also a reward fundamentally to see them achieve goals. And one of my biggest things I enjoy is saving people money. I don't know why, but it's a weird sort of satisfaction I get. I mean, I had a business partner ring me a couple of years ago, and he was about to invest into something that it would have cost him £10,000. Like, categorically, it was a scam, and just having a bit of experience in that sector, and a little bit of intuition, and I like investigating things and researching things, and found out the guy that he was about to invest with was a fraudster. And so I get a buzz certainly from giving back and helping people as well. And it's it can't always just be about the money side of it. I enjoy the deals more than the money side of it, which sounds strange, but I generally I could do a property development, and it would take, say, 6 months to a year, and you might be able to make £150,000 out of something like that. But I get as much pleasure as buying something for 10 quid and selling it for 200 quid or £100, because the return is so much greater, and the sort of the fix on the deal, like the gratification, is quicker, because you can spin something out in 5-10 days, and I get as much of a thrill from that, because you can move on to the next deal, and the compounding of that is astronomical compared to what you could do on a property deal. Not saying that I would ever replace property as the main business, but it's when property can be slow, especially when you get to a certain scale. You're outsourcing a lot of the process. The best bit for me is negotiating the deal, dealing with the refinance, working with investors to get better returns on their money, at the same time as us getting deals done and retaining some more projects. So there's sort of benefits all round, but as I say, doing the deal, no matter what the size, is the key for me and the main driver.
So as you know, the aim of this podcast is also to delve deeper into some of the more testing times and setbacks that have come along in your life. What would you say have been some of the challenges you've had to overcome, not only in work, but also, your personal life as well?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's numerous things, and there's always challenges every day. There's problems. One of the biggest things in the business side is where a lot of people fall down is managing cash flow. Especially when you've got multiple businesses, and especially going through the last year and a half, it's having diversity in the portfolio has really helped me, actually, because if there's eggs all in one basket, I think a lot of people will really struggle, especially with the amount of downtime there is, especially in businesses I've got, like the gym. We were down for 6-7 months in the last year. The projects on the build side of it have been delayed, so it's been really challenging on that. But having the diversity across the portfolio means that some revenue's coming in elsewhere. I also, just before lockdown happened last year, I bought into 3 office buildings, which, as you can imagine, couldn't be worse timing, because suddenly no one was going to be using the offices, no one's paying any rent. And yeah, you're always going to have deals like that, but as long as your overall portfolio is fairly balanced and hedged, which goes back to the experience in the markets, you need to have an overall portfolio that covers risk across different sectors. You don't really want to have everything into one sector, and the same as in property. You can't have all HMOs. I've got a lot of HMOs, which, for those who don't know, is houses of multiple occupancy, which effectively is where you let individual rooms out with shared facilities, and if bills are included. But if you had all your houses in as a HMO and no single lets or no commercial, say the legislation changed on HMOs, you're really exposed to losing your profits on that sector. So having a bit of diversity really covers it. And I'd say the personal side of it, my drive and hunger cost me a relationship for sure, and that's something that I think is sadly quite common in business owners, because you're so focused on the journey to get to the end goal that you forget the present. And it was only in the last couple of years I've sort of tried to really learn about living in the moment, living in the present, because you can almost be absent mentally in the day, like during the day. And you may have heard this from some of the other people that you've interviewed, but you really have to step back and learn how to actually appreciate the here and now, because before you know it, time's gone. Especially having my young son. He's nearly 9 now, which I can't believe where that's gone. But if the last couple of years, I've really made the effort to spend more time with him and try and be a bit more present and live in the moment, because you can easily get distracted in the journey, and that can always be detrimental to the family and friends around you. 100%.
Yeah, so while doing some research, I came across some of the YouTube content you've made with, your son in your spare time. Obviously, you just mentioned your son there, but I mean, you're giving him a platform there to grow, which is really nice, and getting your son involved in work. So, what were the ideas behind that specific venture?
It was twofold, actually. One was I get quite a lot of questions on Instagram about how to make extra revenue, how people can make extra money, etc. And people starting out, young guys, 16, 18. I remember there's this one guy, and I always referred to him. I don't actually know where he went, but he was I think he was about 17 or 18 at the time, and he had a problem for every solution. Everything I said to him, he had a reason why it couldn't be done. So he asked me, just out of the blue, how can I make extra money? I said, the easiest and most basic form of making money as a startup is buying and selling products. You can get stuff for free on Facebook. You can get stuff for free on Gumtree, friends and family. You can then go and sell it. That gives you a pot. You can then buy and sell again. You can go to markets, car boot sales, buy stuff for cheap, sell it on eBay, on Amazon, and you can make a good living from that. And he kept saying to me that, hey, yeah, it's okay for you. You've got money to invest. You've got time to invest. I said, actually, no. You could do it with no money, and you could do it very little time. But he goes, I mean, personally, me, I don't have a lot of spare time. People may think I just sit around doing nothing all day because I've got the properties there, but I work as hard as anyone. I think you've got to lead by example. And this guy literally had a problem for every solution. So I then set myself a goal, and I watched probably about 18 years ago where a guy traded his way from a red paperclip to a house. He literally just free trades. He literally negotiated way up. And I remember it was a case study. I think he did a TEDx talk, and I had that in my mind. I'd like to try that one day. And being out of the actual day job, I'd have the flexibility to work that in around everything. So I set this challenge to try and to make 100,000 in 1 year from zero using spare time. And the second part of that challenge was to take my son along and actually teach him the fundamentals of business. Buying and selling is a core key skills. They are core key skills to learn. 1, negotiation. 2, relationships, dealing with people. They're all skills that can be transferred into different sectors, into property, into trading. I actually did an ebook on the similarities between the trading environment and property, because they're the same lessons. The same skills can be used. So this challenge started, and I literally took him along for that journey purely because I didn't want him growing up and I wanted to have a real appreciation for the value of money, and giving him pocket money and actually buying something rather than buying in a shop. He'd negotiate, buy a charity shop or a market, get it for a tenth of the price. And sometimes he would sell stuff. And we filmed the whole lot over the year. And it was a phenomenal journey. And he really grew during that as well as me enjoying going back to basics. It was like literally getting back to raw. At the start, we were literally driving around, looking on Facebook, having to move really quickly for free stuff that was on there. That's because obviously we're starting with no money. And it's amazing how many people must be doing that, because you could message someone after 2 minutes and the item be gone already, if it's any good. So I think the first item we got was a plumbing part that I think I sold. I can't even remember now. I think it sold for about £40, and that gave me the pot to go to the market. And then we literally carried that on for the whole year. And as I say, it was a phenomenal journey, and the results were spectacular. And that actually resulted in its own business being created, which we've now got a 12,000 square foot warehouse trading from that position at the start of 2019.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier about your business overall, but business investments as well. I mean, just talk to us about some of the other ventures you're involved in, including your Amazon business, making websites better, and obviously many more.
Yeah. So as well as sort of, I always still try and trade a little bit, buy into some of the blue chip stocks to try and go against the trend. So obviously going into Brexit, etc. Tried to go against the trend, tried to predict where the currency would go, and the same with going into COVID, tried to buy stocks into that. And you're never going to make massive money on the blue chips because they're not as volatile. So the business investments, actually startups, and dealing with that side of it is a much higher risk reward. There's obviously some failures. We lost one business during the COVID period, and but the rest survived, and it's much more beneficial to see the growth that happens, and the teams that are built as well. And you can build a phenomenal team in these businesses that are going to be there for the long term. Long as you build the right ethos into that team, and the rewards are going to be, they're not going to be immediate in business. They're not going to be immediate, but you're going to get long-term growth. And as long as you've got the cash flow to pay the bills every month, which the property does, then you get to a point where you can then start investing into businesses. And the key is with the property side of it. There's a very key point where we buy a lot of houses up in the northeast, but there's a key point where you get to 10,000 a month cash flow and you've got your bills covered. Once you get to that stage, then every sort of 5 or 6 months you could buy another house, and then the portfolio starts self-perpetuating because the profits in the portfolio help grow the portfolio, and then that becomes separate. But you also get capital growth, which you could then refinance the money out, which gives you that opportunity to invest in the other businesses. So invested in a trading company a couple of years ago, which has done phenomenally well, and a few other companies, including making websites better with Paul and his crew, and yourself. And it's having that diversity, I think, gives you accelerated growth into. I mean, property is quite safe and steady. You're going to get turnover of tenants, etc. And but having that and going into the commercial sector as well, it's now starting to come back. We're starting to get the offices full, but yes, it's really started to escalate the last few years, and you can see the growth of the portfolio really kicking in, which is great. And still working with a lot of investors, especially friends and family who are getting, they're getting like 1% returns in their bank accounts, and it helps them as well because we're able to pay out on some of the deals between sort of 6 and 10%. So better the returns they would get. They don't have to do any of the work. They just get their payments at the end of the year. And we're always looking for more. We're actually trying to find more properties all the time to make sure the pipeline's there, to make sure that they can keep their money invested, and they keep getting their returns as well. So it all sort of comes around full circle if you think about it. But it's exciting having the diversity. That's the key for me. Having that diversity is everything and more.
Yeah. So for you personally and your business interests, what does the next few years hold for you in terms of plans and achievements?
So recently, just I've moved home to a farm where we've got this big overhead at this warehouse at the moment. So eventually, I'd like to get all the businesses onto one site within the farm here, just to, one, free up time of traveling between premises, and two, reduce costs of having everything on site. And this is going to be a long project. It's a 500-year-old building. There's a lot of work to do here. It actually scares me how much there is to do. But we're just coming up to the back end of another project, which was an old monastery, and that has been challenging. To do that during COVID, it's been challenging. And now we're at the back of that. Want to get this done, and just want to keep invested into more startups, really. A little bit high risk, but I think the rewards are high as well if you get the right people. So always looking for new, hungry people that have got great ideas and looking for investment and want to achieve something and have got the drive to do so. And also looking for a bit of guidance along the way, because where I feel like I can always add value is not just the investment side of it, is just making sure that they don't make the same mistakes I've made. And if I can see that coming. Sometimes people don't like to be told that they're about to make a mistake. They want to learn, and sometimes it is better that they make the mistake and actually learn from that. But trust me, it saves a lot of money if I had someone around me telling me the mistakes I was going to make. The first property investment I did, we didn't check the tenants. We didn't really vet them at all. We let it out. It turned out to be a drug dealer renting it who absolutely trashed the place. So after we had, I think it was 9 or 10 months, didn't get any money. any money in at all. So that lack of education and lack of understanding of the process and the risks and rewards of that business in particular meant that I then didn't invest into another property for about 6 years because I was scared. Didn't want to make the same mistake again. But had I had someone around me to actually foresee that and teach me, and the self-education side of things didn't really kick in. That was around 2002, I think. It didn't really kick in till the late 2000s that was mainstream, but now that it's everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's always, especially with the sort of the push on social media, there's education everywhere, so much opportunity. YouTube especially, you can learn so much. I still watch a lot of stuff on there. And I think going forward, it's just more of the same, really, because it's not, for me, it's not a job. It's not a hassle. I absolutely love problem solving, dealing with problems, which sounds crazy, but otherwise I'd be bored. When I left work, I tried to wind down a little bit for about 6 months. I absolutely hated it. I got really down. It was to go from a trading environment with 400 people to a situation where you're working for yourself with a couple of other people in the office is such a shift, and it took a long time to get used to it, and it's a special skill set. And I imagine a lot of people have gone through that in the last year working from home. It's the same sort of thing. It's a real shock to the system, but luckily for myself, I'd already gone through that. So the last year, I just sort of watched everyone else they were trying to get to grips with it, but I'd already got into the system of working from home, etc.
Yeah. So is there anything you probably would do differently? I mean, look, just having a look back at over your life and career just now. I mean, is there anything that sort of jumps out at you that you would have done differently, or is there something like a business that you wish you had got involved in but didn't, or that kind of thing? Is there? I don't suppose you're a guy that's got regrets, but if you had any, is there any?
Oh, I definitely dwell on stuff that I've missed out on, and one of the biggest regrets is probably not having enough belief in myself. And for the last probably 2 or 3 years when I was still working, I should have probably left 2 or 3 years earlier. It would have got, I think I would have got a bit more momentum into the property growth, because 2012 to 15 was quite a big spike in prices. And I wasn't, I was trying to do it around work, and I probably didn't do it as efficiently. I relied a lot on other people, which, it's great to outsource. But the one biggest lesson I'd say, that was one I probably should have left a bit earlier. The one biggest lesson I would say to anyone, and something I still struggle with today, is delegating stuff out as a business owner, because I still do it now. I get frustrated with myself. Like I'm a very hands-on person. If I see something that someone's doing, if they need help with it, if they're doing it wrong, I have to get it's my intuition to get involved. But one thing that a lot of people do at the start of growing a business is they try and do everything, and you can't scale doing that. It's really tough, and it's probably held me back quite a bit. It probably still does, because I get too hands-on, and it's you need, as the owner and the entrepreneur trying to build that portfolio, you need to look at the bigger picture. You need to be orchestrating the other people to do the roles, and you need to build a team where you can believe that you can leave them. The true value in a lot of these businesses comes when the person that controls it is able to get out of the business, because that business is then saleable and scalable, because you don't need John running the business to actually keep it to survive. So once you get to a level where you can outsource it completely, that's where I want to get to. And that is the biggest thing that I would say held me back and holds a lot of people back, is the lack of delegation of tasks.
Paul, it's been incredible to hear firsthand about your success and your overall story. There's a few life lessons I think we can all learn from. We come to the end of the show, but please give us some love on the socials and rate our channels wherever you get your podcasts from. Well, thanks to Paul for giving up his time and joining us for today's episode. To learn more about him, you can visit his website, www.taylorentrepreneur.com, or follow him on Instagram at Taylor Entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Taylor.
Thank you very much, mate. Have a good day.
And you.
Have a good day all.
So that's it for this episode of People Behind Brands. I'd love to hear from you all, so if you want to get in touch, follow us on our social media platforms. If you like what you heard, please rate and subscribe to our exclusive content now. Join us next time for a brand new guest on the podcast as we explore yet more life lessons from the world of business. We'll see you soon.